Are you taking the solicitor's qualifying examination? If so, this video is a practice test question to help you prepare for the SQE1 exam. In this part of the course, we're going to cover what you need to know for the SQE1 exam about the role of constitutional conventions, the monarch and the crown, and parliamentary sovereignty. I will explain these concepts in this easy to learn diagram. We will then go through this practice test question together for the SQE1 exam for this topic. To get the first part of our full SQE preparation course for free, just click on the link below. My goal is to help you prepare for and pass the solicitor's qualifying examination first time. Now, these topics are really a collection of principles for the public law section of the SQE1 exam, which you need to know. You could be questioned on any of them. The role of constitutional conventions. A constitutional convention is an unwritten understanding about how something in Parliament, for example, should be done, which, although not legally enforceable, is almost universally observed. So this is an important part of our unwritten constitution, because we don't have a codified written constitution. Occasionally, a new convention is agreed in order to resolve a specific procedural issue that has arisen, and that's an argument in favour of an unwritten constitution because it has that sort of flexibility. An example of a constitutional convention is that the House of Lords shall not oppose legislation from the House of Commons that was a part of the government's manifesto, the so-called Salisbury Convention. So it is purely a convention. The House of Lords cannot be compelled by any external mechanism to act otherwise. The monarch and the crown. The monarch can act in an official capacity as the crown or in a private or personal capacity. So in property ownership, for example, although both are royal residences, Buckingham Palace is the property of the crown via the Crown Estate, an organ of government, whilst Balmoral Castle is the property of the monarch personally, acting in a personal capacity, and not of the crown. So the latter could be sold by the monarch, whereas any sale of Buckingham Palace would need an executive act or legislation. Parliamentary sovereignty is another principle of the UK's unwritten constitution. It is the doctrine that Parliament is the supreme legal authority in the UK and can create or end any law. Generally, the courts cannot overrule its legislation, and no parliament can pass laws that future parliaments cannot change. So it cannot be bound by past legislation. Parliament is also not bound by international treaties. Before Brexit, EU law had been supreme on matters where the EU could legislate, but even this supremacy derived from an Act of Parliament, the European Communities Act of 1972, which Parliament subsequently repealed upon the exit of the UK from the EU. So the most important point for the SQE1 exam is that Parliament cannot bind itself, so it cannot be bound by either its previous legislation or by international treaties. So let's look together at an example SQE1 exam question of the kind that you could get. The UK enters into an international treaty preventing the harpooning of whales in British waters. A new government is elected and introduces a bill allowing the harpooning of whales, which would breach the UK's treaty obligations. What is the correct legal position? A. Parliament must not pass legislation which breaches the UK's international treaty obligations. B. Parliament may pass such legislation, notwithstanding that it would place the UK in breach of its international treaty obligations. C. Parliament could only pass such legislation if the other parties to the international treaty first approved it. D. Parliament could not pass such legislation unless the monarch first consented. The answer is B. Parliament may pass such legislation, notwithstanding that it would place the UK in breach of its international treaty obligations. So the answer, of course, here deriving from the fact that Parliament is sovereign and cannot bind itself. I hope you found this helpful. To get the first part of our full SQE preparation course for free, just click on the link below. See you in the course.